Now at 11, breaking news, an arrest made in the Palisades Fire investigation. Welcome to KCAL News at 11 on CBS Los Angeles and streaming on CBS News Los Angeles. I'm Sheba Turk. 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht accused of sparking a fire that would later reignite and become the Palisades Fire, destroying thousands of homes and killing 12 people. KCAL News reporter Luzdelia Caballero live in downtown LA, where prosecutors laid out their case against him, Luzdelia, and really just a lot of evidence here.
Good morning, and that's something that investigators say they have plenty of, pinning the initial fire on 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht, who currently resides in Florida. And of course, more charges could be added given that more evidence will be naturally presented in court to include homicide, because as we know, at least 12 people died in the Palisades fire. So given that they have so much evidence, investigators say they can certainly, beyond reasonable doubt, pin Rinderknecht at the place where the initial fire broke out, that fire being the Lockman fire, which they believe Rinderknecht lit shortly after midnight, adding he was working as an Uber driver, dropping people off at the Palisades where he lived at the time. Those passengers, when questioned, tell investigators Rinderknecht appeared to be angry or agitated at the time. Investigators say while Rinderknecht lied about his whereabouts on New Year's Day during questioning, cell phone data actually pins him to that location. They also say they found digital evidence generated from one of his searches rendering bone-chilling pictures of people fleeing from fire-burning communities. And they were also able to determine he was listening to a French song shortly before they believe he started the Lockman fire, a song that talks about burning things down.
Over the course of the last 8 months, investigators conducted hundreds of interviews, including witnesses overseas, and pursued more than 200 leads. We collected more than 13,000 items of evidence, including fire debris, digital data, DNA samples, all analyzed by ATF's state-of-the-art forensic lab. Our team carried out 500 scientific tests, supported by ATF's Fire Research Lab.
So investigators explained the Palisades fire stemmed from the Lockman fire that broke out January 1st. The same fire they say was seemingly put out on the surface with the weather conditions continued to smolder underground. And of course, then we saw that Palisades fire break out. At this time, investigators say, again, they have plenty of evidence to pin this on Rinderknecht. Time will tell how many charges will be added. He is due in court currently. We are awaiting what happens there, and we'll bring you the very latest. As for motive, no specific motive released by investigators, only that he seemed to have a fascination with fire. In downtown Los Angeles, Luzdelia, Caballero, KCAL News.
All right, Luzdelia, thank you. We want to get a live look from the federal courthouse in Orlando, Florida, where that suspect is due in court right now. Again, 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht from Melbourne, Florida, which is east of Orlando. And for more on this suspect, the timeline, and the federal complaint, we want to get over to assignment manager Mark Liu, who continues our coverage from the desk. Mark?
Yeah, Sheba, a huge amount of data in that news conference with the acting U.S. attorney and the ATF, and of course the complaint that we are going through here at the desk. One of the most startling revelations, as Luzdelia had mentioned, is that the very destructive and massive Palisades fire was actually caused by the smoldering remains of the Lockman fire from 7 days prior. Now, we covered that fire here at the desk, and I was able to go into our video archives and find video from when we did a story on the Lockman fire. Take a look. What you're seeing here is the mountaintop cameras from January 1st of this year. That's the Lockman fire, and right next to it is the Palisades fire 7 days later. Now, this is video from our breaking news crew that we sent that morning, New Year's Day, up into the hills of Pacific Palisades to cover the Lockman fire. It started just after midnight, New Year's Eve into New Year's Day, and it was about 8 acres before LA City firefighters were able to put it out. They did water drops, and they were able to contain this without any damage to any structures or any injuries. Now, at the time, LA City Fire believed this fire had been completely put out, but unbeknownst to firefighters, it continued to burn, smolder under the vegetation. Come out to my map, and I'm going to show you some landmarks here. The Temescal Ridge Trail, that is the landmark that the U.S. attorney says the suspect walked up and started the Lockman fire here on January 1st. That's where it was put out. Now, the Palisades fire origin was here, just about 500 feet to 1,000 feet to the south. and of course burned in this direction and into the other parts of the Pacific Palisades. Now, many of the homes here were destroyed in that first day of the Pacific Palisades fire as the fire continued to move southbound into Pacific Palisades and across down into Malibu. Coming out here back to the desk, we are continuing to look into the data that is coming out in this complaint, including information that the suspect himself called 911 to report the fire, possibly in an attempt to shield himself from any thoughts that he may be the suspect. I'll have more of that coming up at noon. Sheba, I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, a lot to process here, and I know you're going through all that for us, Mark. Thank you. Well, just about 30 minutes ago, LA Mayor Karen Bass weighed in on today's arrest while attending an event being held in San Marino.
In the last couple of hours, the Department of Justice announced an arrest of an individual who deliberately started the fire on January 1st. So this is going to be a tough day because to me, when things like this happen, announcements are made, you go back to that day. And I just, my thoughts will be with all of the families and individuals that are still not in their homes. And just thinking about the trauma that they're going to feel today and hearing about it all day. Before the day is out, there'll be more information that comes out in terms of the response that happened after that.
And then just a few minutes ago, Governor Newsom reacting to the news, he said in part, quote, today's arrest of 29-year-old Florida resident Jonathan Rinderknecht marks an important step toward determining how the horrific Palisades fire started and bringing closure to the thousands of survivors whose lives were upended.